I want to thank the members of Parliament for joining us today on debating why California should ban the death penalty. In this case, I will define a couple of key terms in that phrase, starting with ban, to make illegal or to put a stop to, and death penalty, a type of punishment given to an individual whose crime is deemed too irredeemable, warranting the legal execution of said person. I also want to give a little bit of background on what is happening with the death penalty in the USA right now. It is still actively used in 10 states, and in the year 2025, around 39 people were given this conviction of death penalty. This form of punishment has been linked to unfair discrimination against certain groups of people, and even wrongful convictions of people who did not commit those crimes, as well as involving long, drawn-out court cases that can be rather expensive, not just for the individual, but for the funds that come from taxpayer money. I want us to look at this through the lens of the net benefits, and I will start with our first contention, with our harms one. Discrimination plays a huge role on who gets the death penalty. The death penalty has been wrongfully given to certain groups of people due to the biases held by people in power. People in power have these biases towards these people, and these people in unfortunate circumstances are more likely to get the death penalty. There's even data and statistics that show that 2/3 of the 28 people executed in 2015 exhibited symptoms of severe mental illness, intellectual disability, and the debilitating effects of extreme trauma and abuse. Some of these people also have a combination of all of those. People with disabilities don't often have the financial means to pay for their legal expenses and or don't have the resources or support groups or knowledge on what to do when they get themselves in these situations, which sets them up for failure and doesn't allow them to properly fight against these death penalty convictions. The impact, therefore, is that these unfortunate souls are being wrongfully convicted, and people are receiving one of the harshest punishments that we have in our court systems, that being death. For our harms too, the death penalty process is very expensive, like I said before, not just for the individual involved, but also for funding from the taxpayer money. The death penalty uses funds that could be used for other solutions, such as programs that help deter crime. Studies show that death penalty cases are one of the most expensive for taxpayers, even when you compare it to a sentence of life with no parole. Death penalties are often longer and more complicated cases, therefore needing more lawyers who need to be compensated. People who are given these death penalty sentences often also have to be put in special facilities that require more security and more accommodations. Therefore, the taxpayer money gets put into funding these death penalty processes rather than being used for reforming or rehabilitation programs that really help put a stop to crime or deter it. The impact is that we have a lack of funding for these reform and rehab programs because we are keeping these expensive processes of court cases for the death penalty or for special facilities in running without even the taxpayers agreeing with this situation or having a choice on whether they want to support rehab and reform groups rather than these expensive, drawn out, wrongfully convicted cases of death penalties. And that's why I have a plan. I believe California should ban the death penalty and pass a law that gives courts 2 years to handle ongoing death penalty cases, or if they can't come to a consensus on that person's conviction, they should be offered a different form of punishment or a different conviction. Taxpayer money should get distributed, prioritizing the rehab and reform programs. Therefore, the people who are in these situations don't have to fight for their lives and are given a better sentencing that is not with the biases of the people who are in power, or they're not discriminated against. And then our other solvency is that those taxpayer money that we get to fund for our death penalty cases are being put into reform and rehab programs that can improve their facilities, and they can provide help to more people, which can help deter crime, and is not gone to waste on these long court cases or facilities. Some of the advantages that this plan has is that the death penalty will have been banned, so there will be more just punishment for the crimes that have been committed. So there will be less discrimination against certain groups of people, and it will save resources that can be better put in better programs. Data shows we should save money and align better with the human rights principles. And respecting people's human rights and having funds to run these reform and rehab programs have been linked to less crime too. And justice being carried out that considers people's rights makes the people who pay these taxpayer monies happy. So that impact of having that plan will be that we save money and people suffer less to discrimination and have fair judgments during trials. Therefore, California should ban the death penalty because taxpayer dollars will go to better causes that aid in crime deterring rehab programs, and cases can have more just punishments that don't lead to death of people that are being discriminated against. Thank you.